Hi everybody, and welcome to an introduction to OR and OR Studio. In this video I'm going to be going over the very basics of what you need to know in OR before moving to anything advanced. So, values and variables. When you want to set a value to a variable, all you need to do is write out your variable first. So here, my variable is x, I'm using the arrow operator, or you can use equals, and then I'm using hello world as an example of a value to set to x. So you can run your code by hitting the run button or control enter, which is what I usually do. So I'm going to use control enter here, and you can see my variable here and then my value. So all your variables and data sets and stuff, they'll be held up here, and then you have your plots and visualizations down here. Then any code that you run will be output into the console. So if I print out x, that just prints out hello world. And you can do the same thing by just writing out your variable and hitting control enter again. So print and then just the variable are pretty much the same thing, they do the same job. So what if I want to remove a variable from my environment? I'm going to use the rm function. So that removes objects from a specified environment. So actually you should have said the question mark and then the function after it, and if you run that code, that'll pop up a help window with everything there is to know about that function. So for rm, that brings up description, usage, arguments and stuff. So that's a pretty helpful tool in OR Studio. So rmx, I'm going to remove x, so you can see x is now gone from our environment. You can also set null to x, but that just adds an empty value to x. So assigning values and manipulation. So when I want to assign more than one or multiple values to a variable, I want to use the C function. So that just creates a vector. So if I run $C, combines values into a vector or list. So all I'm doing here is combining all these numbers here into a vector and then assigning it to x. So I'll run this and you can see that the numbers are now assigned to x. So there's some cool functions that you can run with this. You can find the sum of all these numbers. So sum x is 94, minimum number is 2, max number is 30, and then the length. So the length is the number of values that we have in our vector. So we should have 7, we do. Product is just the multiplication of all these numbers put together, so that's just going to output a huge number. And so on. So there's some cool functions that you can run in OR Studio, and these are the very basics. So finding and removing NA values. This is something that's very important, especially when you're working with big data and big data sets, where we can see NA values here. In a big data set, it can be extremely difficult to spot one. So is.na and using that function is extremely helpful. So all it means is not available. And I'm going to set a vector here to x, so 1 to 4 na, 7 to 10 na. So I'll assign x to that, and I'll print it out. So 1, 2, 3, 4 na, 7, 8, 9, 10 na. So the is.na function is what we're going to use here, and this will output a boolean, so true or false. It'll be false if it's a number, and it'll be true if it's an na value. So what it's looking for is na, so if it's na, it's true. And so you can see here, false, 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 true, false, false, true. But probably the more efficient way and probably the best way, I think, is to add up the sum of the na values. So what I'm doing here is just encapsulating is.nax into a sum function. So that'll just output the number of na values that we have in our vector. So we have 2 na values, as you can see up here. Down here, I want to assign anything that isn't na to x. So what I'm saying is, inside x, I want to take anything that isn't na and assign it to x again. Or we can create a new one. So let me just say hi. So it could confuse you a bit. So anything inside x that isn't na, I want to assign to hi. So hi is our new variable, and you can see all the na values are taken out. So I was going to print out x, but I'll print out hi. Okay, so you see all the NA values are gone now. So this is just an example of what we've done so far. I'm going to create a vector of numbers, and then I'm going to create a vector of names and assign it to these numbers. So here I'm assigning all these numbers to sports. So when I run that, you can see 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 is sports, and then I want to assign some names. So functions to get or set the names of an object. So I want to set the names of sport here. So rugby will be 2, hurling 4, Gaelic 6, baseball 8, hockey 10. So I'll run this, and that's named sports now, and I can print it out, and it shows rugby is 2, hurling is 4, Gaelic is 6, baseball is 8, hockey is 10. So here I want to reuse the code that we've written already. I want to take from inside sports, I want to use hurling and Gaelic, and I want to assign it to Irish sports. So if I run this code, you can see, I'll run it again, sorry. You can see that Gaelic has been taken and hurling has been taken from sports, and we've assigned it to Irish sports. If you've never heard of these sports, please make that your next search on YouTube. You'd be stunned at what you see. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please stay tuned for more, and thanks.